It has begun another episode.
So we are, is this, I forget, like, what, are we on season 4 now?
Yes. Yes. Aren't we?
I
Yes.
think so. We were
I know
season
it's
3.
episode 201,
It is episode 2.
the beginning of a new era. That's kind of exactly like the era we were just in right now. I don't know. All good, all good. You know what? There's things that have to remain consistent as we evolve, right? Which leads me to rituals, because I was thinking the other day about all the new fun and exciting little rituals I've added into my life, and how much I'm really enjoying it. I'm like a little ritual crackhead. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. I just mean to say I'm addicted. I'm addicted to my rituals. So, all right, you go first. What's a ritual you like?
Well, what's funny, because you were talking about, you know, you created a new morning ritual because my morning ritual used to be coffee, but now it's cacao.
Cacao.
Cacao. Cacao. Cacao.
I know.
And I also was recently initiated into the ancient mystery schools, which is filled with rituals.
Beautiful.
And like once you do that, like you're encouraged to practice the rituals for 30 days so you can assess what kind of effect this is having in your life. But so then now I've got like my morning cacao ritual and my mystery school rituals. And so I had to morph them into one.
Nice.
So I make my cacao, but it's always too hot, even though it's like, you make it at a little less of a temperature. It's still, this mouth is so sensitive. Like I am like the lukewarm room temperature person. Like, your food is cold. I'm like, it's perfect. But also I don't like things out of the refrigerator. Like you pull a salad out, I want it to sit for a while and also get to room temperature. So I'm weird that way. So anyway, so I make my cacao, but then it sits while I perform all of these other rituals from the mystery school. And then I sit with my cacao and enjoy it. And then once I've finished drinking my cacao, then I do my meditation.
Beautiful.
And
so how much time are you giving yourself in the morning? Like just for this, just for you?
It sounds like a lot. But really, if I'm like really like on top of it and diligent, including making the cacao and doing everything, it's probably less than a half hour.
Oh, wow. Well,
yeah,
I'm impressed.
I do 15 minutes of meditation, which that's probably the longest part of it. And maybe I'm being generous when I say 30 minutes. It might be a little bit more than that. But the meditation is definitely what takes up the longest time of it. And because the other rituals are, in the beginning, they took a lot of time because there's prayers, incantation, whatever. I would have to like find them in my book and read them. Now I pretty much have them all memorized, except for there's one longer one that with my 55-year-old brain, I don't know if I'll ever have it memorized. It's a lot.
I have noticed that some things that I think I would have had memorized like 10 years ago, I now find myself reading off a piece of paper more often than not. And I was like, that's interesting, because I could have sworn that I probably could have recited that had you asked me 10 years ago. But I don't know, maybe I'm just too dependent on the paper. I don't know. But that's interesting. So for me, my morning ritual has actually just gotten longer and longer and longer. Which honestly, like, that's my self-care. Like, it feels so good to me. I have to start getting ready to leave the house by 8, just because that's when the kids got to leave for school, like 8:30, 8:40, whatever. So like I have to be done by that time. Otherwise I could probably spend a good 7 hours doing all of that. On a good day, if I follow all my own intentions, then I wake up at 5, but sometimes I wake up at 6. And even waking up at 6 sometimes doesn't really get me out the door on time if I do everything I really want to do, you know? Um, but and obviously I know we've talked about cacao ad nauseum, but I've also added drinking lemon water every morning, and it is incredible. I drink lemon water, wait 20 minutes, drink celery juice, wait another 20 minutes, then I have my cacao. So like honestly, during that time, like all of that together, maybe just in drinking beverages, that's an hour. But I found that it's the most delicious hour to catch up on reading, right? Which I don't know if you remember, but like even a year ago, I was struggling to get through books that I wanted to read. And I was just like, I'm struggling to find the time. But forcing myself to create the time to just drink beverages, like not only is it so great for my health, but now like my mental health is so much better because I'm getting in my special little reading time, which I love so much. So that's actually been super cool. And then obviously from a mommy standpoint, like waking up my kids every morning, that's a ritual too. That's one of the gifts in my very hectic childhood was that my mom would always wake us up like really, really sweet, like little kisses and softness. And it wasn't like yelling or anything like that. It was like the 30 seconds of the day that didn't have yelling in it. But I wanted to give that to my kids, right? So my kids are now 14. For those that don't know, I have boy girl twins, and I just love waking them up like as soft as sweet as possible. Literally 5 minutes later, I'm like, get out of bed. I told you, look what time it is. Blah, 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 blah. But man, at least those 5 minutes are good.
I'm like laughing because you brought me back to my mom used to sing to us, get up, get out of bed. Wake up, you sleepy head.
Oh, that's adorable.
And I apologize for having everybody listen to me sing right there.
Oh no, I hope that becomes a clip that goes hot on YouTube, goes viral. That's adorable.
Ooh, now I want to take it back.
No, we're living authentically, Julietta, all the way.
Oh man. All right. Should we bring on our guest?
Let's bring him on. Mr. Chris Baker.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much. I love that. I want to see that song go viral. That would be fantastic.
Yes. Honestly, it would be the sweetest tribute to your mom. How
yes. I completely agree.
So Chris, tell the audience, tell us who you are, what you do, and what keeps you passionate.
Sure. My name is Chris Baker. I am the co-owner of Visuals by Momo. And what actually keeps me passionate is the connections that I make with people. Like, it really is the authentic relationships that really drives me to go out there, to network, to connect. That's how I actually met Julietta, and then I finally got to meet Graciela. This has just been a fantastic way of actually meeting you guys is by connecting. So I really do find that the most passionate for me.
I do have to say, I see that in you, Chris, because in a couple episodes ago, we were talking about networking and how in general out there in the networking world, everybody's just so superficial and here's my card and call me. But I do see you out there, like truly connecting with people. And I applaud you for making that happen because you do it at events that are easy to be authentic and connected at, but you also make that happen in the events that, like the ones that I just don't even go to, like, cause I can't stomach it. But so I applaud you for that.
Thank you. I love people's energies. And that's what I usually get attracted to. When I walk into a room, I see and I feel an energy from a person, and I'm like, oh, I'm instantly, drawn to you. Let's have this conversation. Let's see what happens, see where the magic takes us. So that's kind of what I try to bring no matter where I'm at.
Listen to him speak my language.
I heard it.
And Oh, hi, Momo. He's watching.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
So I'm
there.
curious, tell us how that magic and that connection shows up in your business. Tell us a little bit more about what the visuals are. Who is Momo?
Yes.
And yeah, tell us a little bit more.
So Visuals by Momo, it started by me and my husband, Momo, and his real name is Mohammed, but a lot of people over in the Middle East have the name Mohammed. So a nickname that he had, like he brought with him, was Momo. And we just really saw a need for creating visuals and video to showcase someone's story. And that was the whole goal behind creating Visuals by Momo over the past couple of years here in South Florida. And what we do is we actually capture the essence, the emotion, the energy of the business or individual that we're capturing their story and put it in the video format.
So not everybody can do that. Like, how is it that you are able to tune into that and capture that?
So I think part of it goes back to our earlier conversation of just capturing some of the energy of the people that we're working with. We actually walk into a conversation, looking at, where do you want this business to go? Where do you want your story to be told? How do you want it distributed? And then if they don't have a plan, we try to work with them to go, here is what the ideas are behind that, and find them a solution. So part of it is really digging deeper into some of the things. Sometimes we have to break apart that onion. It's like, oh, I need a video for business, but it's not always about that. It's like, what's under this layer? What's the driving force that's asking you to create this video? Is there a need? Is there a way to connect with your target audience? Those are the pieces that we want to dig deeper. And so sometimes it is harder to get deeper because not everybody's like, oh, I'm just looking for a price, or I'm just looking for this. And it's not as easy as to just, jump and make a video. We have to make sure that we're doing it for the best for the individual and for the company. So it is that energy, that connection that really drives us as well.
I feel like you guys are the videography. You are to videography what Graciela is to photography. Like,
yes.
I was just gonna say, everything you're saying so resonates with me in my own process, and how we have to really dig deep. It's not just a pretty picture, right? If it's a picture and it's not your authentic self, then it's absolutely worthless. I always tell people, if you want to know what you look like, go to the DMV. They'll tell you the truth. But nobody wants to see that. That's not what we're selling here, right?
Very true.
But kudos to you, because, I know that myself as a photographer, it is an enormous amount of work to pull people's authentic selves out, because, we're so worried about how we're going to show up and what we look like and what are we doing. And, it's a lot mentally and emotionally too. So to do that on video, I imagine it being 10 times more steps and more challenging. So kudos to you for overcoming all of that.
And I actually have to give all the credit to Momo. He is the one that actually does all of the production. I'm more on the connections, the business side for the networking. And so that's where I can really dive into, the energy when I initially meet the person. But to actually go deeper into the story and kind of peel some of those layers back, and actually be able to storyboard and write a script, it's Momo and the rest of the team that actually just blows my mind, because when we're done with something, it's beautiful. It looks beautiful. There is a story to share, and they get to have something that's going to last with them their entire lifetime, whether the entire business lifetime or the personal lifetime. So it's beautiful.
So were you always aware that you were tapping into people's energies, or is that like a skill that you got later in, like, talk to us about that?
So yeah, let's go back to energy, because that's actually one of my full-time passions. I just love energy work. I remember having conversations with people when I was 8 years old and touching their energies, and like looking and feeling like, oh, if we look at it this way, if we examine the world this way, and just how we work together differently, it's always been there. And I've also had the ability to see healers and teachers and mentors in the spiritual realm since I was 8 years old. And so it's always been there. Um, and so it was interesting when I became a Reiki master and I took my first Reiki class. I was like, wait, there's actually a formal way to be taught this? Like, I've been doing this all my life and I didn't fully understand it. So I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. Like, everything that I've been doing, there's actually more of a formal way to do it. And then I transitioned a little bit further and, started teaching, going through the teachings of shamanism. And, my journey's not done. Like, I feel like life is an endless journey that I get to continue to learn from and to continue to get better and to continue to heal. And that's one of my biggest passions. I love healing. I really truly do.
Well, I feel like that's what life is healing. And, I think being on the path of healing doesn't mean that you're broken, doesn't mean that you're not okay, but it's just the journey of the evolution of you becoming your ultimate self. And well, I think that helps to take away, because you need to be, nobody needs to be healed. Because you want to be healed doesn't mean that you need to be fixed. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the journey.
I think the stepping stones that we step through life on, some of them are perfect, spheres stepping stone, and some are broke, some have cracks, some are, different pieces. But the biggest thing that I've learned over my journey is every single one of them, whether it's been difficult or it's been great, it's always a life lesson. It's always a beautiful story that comes out of it that I can go, hey, that made me who I am today. That made me stronger. That made me be more compassionate. That made me hear. Like, all of these different pieces really brings us up, over our journey of life. And so when I think of healing, it's all internal. Like, we really do that. But sometimes it's beautiful to have individuals like ourselves step in and go, hey, did you think about it? Did you experience this way differently? Or maybe just add an extra little bit of light into an area so they can expand their energy. Because sometimes that's all it is. It's just a blockage. And we just need to open that blockage up so that it can flow, it can release, and it can be even more beautiful.
And we talk a lot about permission too, right? Like, sometimes it almost feels like all you're doing is granting someone permission to create that healing or create that new self or create a new viewpoint or take the next step, right? I'm curious, in your, having an awareness at 8 years old is incredible, and how cool that you started being aware of everything so young. And I know it's been a journey, and I'm curious, what limiting beliefs did you have to let go of as you were going? Part of our podcast is about living authentically and saying, hey, you might be going through this, but just so you know, this is on the other side. Like, tell us a little bit more about that part of the journey.
So the limiting beliefs that I had to let go of, there's actually been several, I would have to say. One of mine was family. For me, it was family, because the family that I had wasn't always as supportive as I needed them to be. So I had to find my own energetic, loving, chosen family. Mm-hmm. And so I got to do that in this life. And I am so grateful that I was able to find some of the most amazing people to help me through that. Another piece that really stands out in my mind is the transition that I had to go through when I was coming out. Like, that was a hard stepping stone. And it still is. Like, I'm still in this moment of, this is the way that things happen, or this is the way that should be, but it's not that. It's all about me and my individual journey. It's not about a stereotypical or, standard that needs to happen. And I am so grateful that I actually was letting go some of those like quote unquote standards that everyone like looks at. Oh, this is the way you're supposed to act, or oh, this is the way you're supposed to do something. I'm like, no, what is it in your heart that fills you with joy, fills you with love? And as long as you're not harming anyone, do it. Like, that is the end goal. Like, if you're not, manipulating somebody, if you're not physically harming, emotionally harming, or mentally harming anybody, and it's bringing you joy, with all my light and my love, go do it, because it's so powerful and so meaningful to the world.
I think, you touched on having to remind yourself. And I think that's why I cling so much to my daily rituals, is because it takes a conscious effort to remain true to yourself every single day, right? Because it's so easy to slip into an inauthentic role, right? Just because that's life, right? But reminding yourself every day.
And I can fully admit, I have had moments where I've slipped out, and I've slipped out for, a month. Hell, I've slipped out for a year, and I'm like, oh wait, this doesn't feel authentic anymore. This doesn't feel like me. I need to come back, and re-putting in that rituals to get you back to where you need to be. It takes time, and it takes a strength and a resilience to really make those pieces happen. So it, just in case people are out there listening, it's okay if you're not there right now. Head back there. Your goal, your mission, your love, your light, everything will be so much stronger, so much happier in those spaces.
Yeah. I've taken many breaks. It's okay to take breaks.
Yeah.
Because being on the path, being on the spiritual path, the authenticity path, it can be challenging at times, and it is okay to sit down for a little while and take a break from the work, because even though it's fun and amazing and so worth it, sometimes it's hard, and it's okay to stop and rest.
And also, that's processing too, right? Like the part about processing doesn't always have to mean actively thinking and writing and journaling about it. Sometimes it's just being, just letting it sit, There's so much magic in the silence. Like, give it a second.
I completely agree with both of those statements, because that's where the true magic can really blossom, and is by letting it marinade, I guess is a good word for it.
That's the word.
You just let it marinate, and oh wow, I feel it stronger, I sense it stronger, and I didn't have to do any of those other pieces to make it deeper connection within myself. So I completely agree.
We've been sitting here curiously, waiting for the moment to share what book Chris is going to add to the Goddess Library.
Oh my gosh. So I'm not much of a reader. And that's just kind of how my whole world has been. However, when I was thinking about this question and bringing a book to today's podcast, I had to think about it, and I was like, oh my gosh, there is this beautiful, strong, independent woman in this fiction book that I think would be phenomenal to talk about. So it's a trilogy. It's called Arrows of the Queen by Mercedes Lackey. Have you guys read it?
Oh,
no, but sounds totally up my alley.
Yes. So it's a 3-book series, and it's got a powerful message about independence, particularly in the main character. She has a difficult struggle at the very beginning. She had an abusive past, and she was chosen by these very high respected beings called companions to be the voice for the queen. in the realm. And it's all about her resilience, determination, and independence, growth, and how she moves forward in life. And I was like, this sounds something beautiful and magical that would be perfect. There is an element of magic in there, so definitely love that. The other thing that she has this inner strength and persistence about her. And I think that's something that I think all of us need to relate to. Like, look inside ourselves and pull out that inner strength and perseverance and move forward. And she always stands up for what she believes is right, even if it's not the norm. Like, she follows her heart, she follows what she believes in.
Wait, she's being authentic?
Yes. She's being authentic. So, and the other thing that really happens is she also becomes a mentor in the books to a bratty princess. And she helps this princess step into her own and into her power, both magically and just as a princess itself. And it's such a beautiful story. So, yes, Arrows of the Queen by Mercedes Lackey, I would recommend. I love a lot of her books, but that one was the one I'm like, yes, this one makes sense for your guys' library. So
I also love that it's a fiction, because honestly, 99% of the time people are bringing more like, self-help and nonfiction books. So I love that this is just a story. And I grew up loving to read, and we had bedtime, and like sometimes if I was in the middle of a good book, I would like sneak up and I would go hide in my closet with a flashlight in my book so that I could like keep reading.
Oh my God, Juliet, I used to do the same thing.
The thing that was true is like the bed was so squeaky. Probably my parents heard me get up.
Right, but it's not like you were hiding in the closet doing drugs. I mean, you were reading. Who could tell you no, right? Like, come on,
Exactly. But sometimes I think about it, because most of the books that I read, I'm like, when was the last like fictional book that I read? So I think I'm gonna get this one, and just like it's gonna kind of be like guilty pleasure, just reading for fun.
Honestly, one of the things, like, for me, out of all of the books, specifically that I have read in my lifetime, and they're a very small list, but the fiction ones, because it's a story, it can tell, a moral and get some other pieces besides just a nonfiction book. When it's, like, here's the steps, here's the things that you need to do. There's more to it that you can interpret and go, oh, yeah, how do I relate that to my life? How do I, bring that in? And so I think, yeah, I think you're going to love the books. I would love to have a conversation after you've read the books, because I'm going to go reread those books. I think I need to.
We talk about this sometime. We used to have book club. I'm like, maybe we make this a book club book. Like,
yeah,
who's in? Like, in Circle of Goddesses, if you want us to do this as a book club and we all want to read it together, comment in Circle of Goddess, say I'm in for the book club, and we'll think about making this happen again.
There you go. I love also how you said about stories, because for all of history and of human history, it is about stories, and that is how lessons are passed down, and it is how information is passed down, right? From the creation stories to how to cook a certain meal, it's all part of a story. And the more you can create it that way, you're right, it's an easier way to learn an enormous amount of information, right? It's almost like the videos, a picture's worth 1,000 words, a video is worth like a bajillion more, there's all these little nuances that you can put in there. And so, yeah, that's beautiful. What a great book. I love it.
Awesome.
So we're almost running out of time here, but I would love to know, like, do you have one little last juicy nugget to leave for our audience as a parting gift?
My nugget that I would have to say is if you have a chance, listen to your guides, listen to your mentors, listen to the angels, whichever divinity is out there that you respect and you understand and connect with. They're there to help you. They are there to give you the guidance that you're looking for. And we'll pray, we'll ask for answers, and we have them. They're already there. So, whenever possible, just, try to quiet your mind and hear those answers from those beautiful souls that are out there giving us all this amazing knowledge.
I love that you say it. And because people tell me all the time, like, I don't hear them. I don't know what they're saying. And the problem is like, yes, you got the message. You just doubted if it was the message and you ignored it. Because they come, It's like when I say like my guides, like they're not sitting there like just whispering in my ear these messages that I'm telling you. Like it's a process how I receive the message, and I have to like trust and just go with it. But the more you trust and go with it, the more you will receive. And sometimes the message comes through a song on the radio or a billboard sign as you're driving down the highway. Or it's we don't have a lot of cardinals down here in Florida, but I'll get a cardinal in my backyard and I know that's my mom. And it's like, I think about like, what am I mulling over in my head right now? Because this is my mom showing up and giving her support on whatever it is that I'm working through right now. And so these messages, they are coming to you. Instead of asking and doubting it, trust that is the message and just go with it. And the more you do that, the more the messages will show up.
And I think the one thing that I've learned also is when I step back too long, they start showing up more frequently. And sometimes it's in an interesting way. Like sometimes it's those stepping stones with the cracks. Like this is a hard thing for me to go through, but it got me to go, oh, I need to remember this, or, oh, I've been asking about this, and why did I do it this way? Because I had the answer right away. So it's almost like, them going, hey, we've been talking to you for 2 years now. Why aren't you listening to us?
Yeah, if you don't pay attention to the whisper, you're gonna hear the scream.
Correct.
Right? How many people haven't had incredible life changes happen because some tragedy happened in their lives, where like the pandemic, right? How many people didn't come alive in the pandemic and discover their spiritual gifts and all of this? Yes, out of something so tragic and so terrible, but like the universe had been whispering for a millennia and we're not paying attention. So guess what? Boom, pandemic. Now you got to listen, right? And people did open up, So yeah. I just wanted to add, also, don't be afraid to seek support and guidance and mentoring and coaching or whatever. And honestly, it doesn't have to be that formal either. Like just go hang out with people that are living the life that you want to lead, like I told a story in a different podcast about me smelling some flowers and like just really appreciating that moment. And Julieta's like, I do that all the time. And I'm like, what? You live happy like that every day? You just smell flowers every day? I'm like, who gets to live like that? And then she's like, Graciela, it's just a choice. I'm like, oh my God. Right. So sometimes just being in the presence of people like yourself, Chris, people that are further along the path, as I say, or in a different part of the path, just opens you up more. You can realize what's going on. Julieta does come to the studio quarterly and have conversations with her spirit guides for the benefit of the audience. Like if you want to dip your toe in, come do that, come listen.
I agree.
Oh, this was a fun show. Anytime we can talk about energy and magic, I'm all in.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for all the studying that you've been doing over the years leading up to this incredible moment. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Momo.
Yes, love you, Momo. Thank you so much for everything you do behind the scenes.
Yes, and thank you to our listeners for tuning in today. And I want to wish you all a magical day.
Bye.